So I think the first question is to really ask, how long do you intend to maintain this app, and how many new features you intend to add to it, right? If you want to keep iterating on it for a relatively long time into the future, I would recommend definitely migrate it to Vue 3 as soon as you can. Probably start with the compat build and then slowly move over to official Vue 3. But if you don't really foresee it to need major changes and it's working fine with Vue 2, I'd say, just leave it there. Because most of the time you're thinking about the trade-offs between the amount of time you need to spend for the upgrade versus the long-term gains in terms of maintainability and feature developed, right? So yeah, so it depends on these factors.
First will be read the whole documentation. We also have a migration guide. I think Vue 2 also has a migration guide. We have code months that can help you change your code. I would also recommend to try the new version like Nuxt 3 on a separate project. Get used to the new syntax. I know it's a hard challenge, but it's worth it. And if you stuck with Nuxt 2, we also offer a long support with the hero devs. So depending of your need, either you could stay on Nuxt 2 with the long-term support offer from hero devs, or jump to Nuxt 3. You won't regret it.
I think first I would migrate to the composition API if they haven't already done that. So there's a broad alignment between the composition API in 2.7 and 3, and that's probably the most significant change people can make. There's also a compatibility build of Vue, but honestly, I think it might be more straightforward to sort of start the migration once you have things in composables.
Well, of course, I would say if your project is in production, probably it is, and it's a product, I will migrate everything from the ground up. So basically starting with the configuration, with the version of packaging, and then leave the migration from options API to composition API till the end, because then you can do that step by step. Imagine that you want to do something else in Vue 3 while you are still migrating. You can do it with the setup option in the options API and then later on migrate it to composition API. And of course, I will suggest to do scripts that can mostly change all the components that you have that are similar, and the ones that takes time, just do it manually, because of course it's better to have everything tested properly than rushing it with a script. But in Storyblok we did it with a script and it worked pretty well because most of the components were working similar. And of course there was a huge one that we needed to do manually, and that took even months for a component that probably was really legacy stuff, I would say. But of course, you manage with time, and I don't stress out to have everything perfect since the beginning, and start from the things that are really important for performance in your application, and then later on with things that maybe are secondary in your platform. Yeah.
At this point, yes, you should have done it already, but I understand there's a lot of reasons why you might not have. I'll tell you, take it easy, take it slow. If you have like small parts that you can incrementally start to migrate to that, go very, very slow. And maybe as you migrate, try and build better patterns, because a lot of migrations are really hard when you follow or you sort of do anti-patterns in your code base, which make it hard to go from different paradigms in the previous version to like the paradigm in the next one. So maybe think about what best practices you would implement in Vue 3 to make that next migration, because Vue 4 will be coming at some point, a bit easier. So
my first recommendation would be to just do it. I think it's like about time you pull the trigger. You're missing out on like a lot of goodies, both in performance improvement, developer experience, all of the latest and greatest tools that have been developed in the Vue ecosystem over the last years. So yeah, stop thinking about it. Try to find the time. I know it's difficult. We have also been there. We postponed it forever. Even the Vue dev tools only migrated to Vue 3 half a year ago. So yeah, it's difficult to find the time, but at some point we have to pay back the technical debt and yeah, you will you will thank yourself after you do it, and you will get a lot of the time back just from the improvements in the quality of life for your dev team that you will enjoy once you are up and running with the migration.
Migrating is hard. I would say make sure you understand what you're migrating to, what are the changes, what are the differences. If you just kind of use tools to do it for you, you're not going to understand when things go wrong. I personally use Nuxt, and I did write a guide from upgrading Nuxt to Nuxt 3, so check that out if that helps. And basically, yeah, it's really hard to keep up to date with everything. So don't be too hard on yourself when things go wrong, because they will go wrong, and that's okay.
So my advice to migrate from Vue 2 to Vue 3 will be to do it gradually. There is compatibility mode where you can start migrating some components. I will suggest to go directly to composition API. It makes it easier to translate those option API into Vue 3 composition, and probably if your team is good enough with TypeScript, I will go TypeScript first. But if not, you can always do it in JavaScript first and then try it out TypeScript.
That was a great question. That's a very painful migration from what I heard. So I don't think it's quite as bad as AngularJS to Angular 2. So I would probably not recommend an entire rewrite, but take some time and a lot of copy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good start for sure. If you use Nuxt, there's Nuxt to try out to migrate gradually. Otherwise, do your research. Check out which packages not support anymore. If there are new versions, new major versions for packages.
I think because Vue has been around for a long enough time, so most of the AI models are pretty well trained on Vue code. So I think that's an advantage, because the more data that has existed on the internet about Vue, the better the AI model gets at it. And Vue being, probably the second most popular framework out there, most AI models can actually generate Vue code really well and understand Vue code bases really well. So I think it should, for most people working with AI-assisted tools, Vue should still be a very viable choice, and you'll probably have an easier time because AI can help you write Vue code faster.
That's a good question. It's already affecting. It's affecting my job also. It's helping us. I don't think it's going to replace us, but for sure it's going to save us time, and sometimes also make us lose time because you're waiting for an auto-completion which is wrong, or you don't have internet but you used to code with AI. It's becoming better and better. The more we have documentation, we recently released a Nuxt LLM modules that gives you create the /LLM.txt file that you can feed to LLM. To teach them more and more. So it will be a good companion. We'll see how it goes. It's very hard to predict. But I personally use Copilot, and it's been helpful so far.
So I think AI can bring the average recommendation to the average used framework. So because React is the majority framework, LLMs tend to recommend that. And that's something I'm concerned about. But I think that's probably something that is going to be less and less a concern as time goes by. So AIs are already getting really adept at using recommendations for even new versions of frameworks like Nuxt 3, for example, and also adjusting to your project style and your own personal preferences. So I think it will change things. We'll have to think about how we can make our documentation and even users' projects accessible to LLMs so they can give good recommendations for code changes.
Oof, that's a really a strong question. Well, I will say that since Vue has been always the easier framework to learn, if you compare with React or Angular that are more, the learning curve is more difficult, I would say. I guess we will get better at what we do, because Vue is really easy to start, then you overlook some things that are really interesting to do and better for performance. And with AI, probably will help us to at least know what is new in the Vue ecosystem every day. And if you work with Copilot or Cursor, probably you will get some benefits from that, because you will get the latest techniques. And yeah, performance-wise, you will get better. I think it's better for us if we use AI than skip the trend, isn't it?
I think it will have a pretty balanced effect, to be honest. The first part is I think it will slow down some traction because everyone is using code, agents to make applications. And so when someone says make an application that does a storefront, right? I think a lot of these AI agents are prompted to use the more popular frameworks. Sometimes that might not be Vue. I think by default, a lot of things use other frameworks. So that might affect people's introduction to Vue. But then also I think it will help with the adoption, at least for learning, because people can have more resources. I know a lot of the trouble with getting up to speed with a lot of things like Vue and similar frameworks is you don't have the resources. But now you have no excuses because you kind of have the resources. So it's a bit here and there with the adoption. But I think net, it will be positive. So
I think AI will make Vue.js development more fun. I can see AI taking care of a lot of the tedious tasks that Vue developers do nowadays. And I can also see AI making Vue development more accessible. Like Vue.js is already very popular for being easy to learn, like easy for newcomers to pick it up and make great applications. And I can see now with the rise of AI that even more people can jump on board and take care of a lot of junior level tasks, and juniors, I can see them growing faster into becoming mid-level or senior level, since a lot of the groundwork can be taken care of from the AI, either from the tools or even just from allowing the developers to speak with builders or speak with the chat AI applications and get their problems solved.
AI is super exciting. And I think we have a huge future ahead of us with AI. And I think we've got to be very clever in how we approach it, because basically AI can be very helpful if we allow it to be. We need to know what we're doing so that we know how to ask the right questions, and so that we understand the answers that come back to us, are they correct or not? So we're going to almost be like team leads, leading a load of AI Vue developers. It doesn't mean we're all going to lose jobs. That's not the case. It means that we're going to be able to get things done faster, build things faster, migrate faster, and just create really cool things much faster. So I'm super excited about AI, and I think it's got a great future in the Vue world.
I think if we use AI responsibly, we are going to be more productive and probably have better practices. Okay, so that will improve the pull request quality. And also, well, it depends on the seniority of the person. I see people from middle point to senior using more AI as productivity, where AI for juniors could be counterproductive because they need to know the basics of what they're doing. But I think in general, it will be positive to generate better Vue applications on actual, I guess.
Oh, difficult. I think there will be a lot of code that needs, well, let's say, to be handled with care. A lot of code that's vibe coded and might not work properly if you need another feature. On the other hand, I can do a lot of amazing things with AI and be really productive if you use it with care and not just always hit tap, 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 or accept. So it can be a blessing, but also a curse for web development in general, and for Vue the same way.
I'm pretty excited about the capabilities that AI offer. I fully agree with your statement, vibe coding is not the way, but on the other hand, there are parts that are very hard to statically analyze, where traditional refactorings and stuff just hit their limits. So extracting parts of a component into a new component using options API properly is very difficult just to statically analyze, but AI with a pattern matching can do really wonders there. So I'm very excited for that kind of future to see in the developer productivity sense.
You mean composition API?
That's what I said.
Composition API.
So Vue.0 is the company I founded centering around JavaScript build tools, and we are trying to build a unified toolchain for JavaScript around Vite as the central point, and it's going to be a toolchain that involves not just the build and dev that Vite currently covers, but also we're building a set of tools from all the way bottom up, from a parser to the transformer to the resolver, a lot of these in Rust. And we're putting these together into a more coherent stack that supports Vite from the bottom up. And then expand into an all-in-one toolchain that also covers linting, formatting, test running, and most of the things you'd need typically in the whole JavaScript development workflow. So how it relates to Vue is because Vue is using Vite as the default build tool, it naturally, everything in the toolchain will be naturally compatible if you're already using Vite or Vite-based frameworks. That means, for example, Vitest works out of the box with Vite. So everything that Voice0 builds will work out of the box with Vue applications by extension. So you probably have you can very easily migrate to the things that Voice0 ships, and it'll hopefully improve your productivity as a Vue developer as well.